Hey everyone! So ever since I've been putting pictures of my makeup online, I have been asked by several people several times to do some makeup tutorials. So asking you shall receive. So if you want to see how I did this look and hear me talk about some real life zombies, stay tuned because that's exactly what I'm about to do. So I have been asked for a long time by several people since I started posting my pictures online to do a makeup tutorial. And in doing one, I was like, what should I talk about? I sat there for a while, I was like, what do I like? And it dawned on me, I like creepy stuff. I like watching all types of paranormal or just out there, like just crazy stuff that you see, like, oh my gosh, that's not real, or oh wow, I didn't even think about that. So, being that it is Halloween and I stumbled upon this topic, I thought I would talk about Cotard syndrome. Cotard, not sure which one it is. I have heard both, but Cotard sounds right to me, so that is what we are going to go with. So, I should also probably do my makeup. So, basically, Cotard syndrome, for those of you that don't know, which is probably most of you because I did not know about it before this, and I don't think a lot of people do. There are about 200 cases worldwide in all of time, so not an incredibly well-known syndrome. Cotard syndrome is also known as the walking corpse. I almost said walking dead. Walking corpse syndrome. Walking corpse syndrome, or Cotard syndrome, is essentially when somebody is alive, right? You're alive, you're breathing, you're talking, you're walking around, you're eating, drinking, doing everyday normal human functions. However, in your mind, you believe, for whatever reason, that you are dead or decaying, or you're missing some part of you. You're missing, an organ or your brain, or, there's a ton of different things that people have experienced in suffering with this syndrome. There are many stories where people just truly believe that they are dead and they are rotting from the inside out. There are other stories where people believe that they are missing part of themselves or even just don't exist at all. The first case of Cotard syndrome, before it was formally known as Cotard syndrome, was in 1788, and it was discovered, and I don't want to say discovered because it wasn't formally discovered, but it was first reported by a man named Charles Bonnet. I think it's Bonnet, could be Bonnet, or again, I don't know how to pronounce these things. I'm going with what feels right. So his name, for lack of knowledge, is Charles Bonnet. Charles Bonnet, in 1788, reports that an elderly woman, we do not know her name, was essentially making a meal for her family when she felt a draft. When she felt the draft, which I'm not sure how these two things are connected, but she felt a draft and then apparently simultaneously developed semi-paralysis, in half of her body. So when she regained her feeling and her movement and she was able to speak again, she told her daughters and her maid, "I am dead. I would like you to put me in a coffin and cover me with a shroud." Obviously they're like, "You're not dead. You're alive. You're standing here. Well, I don't know. She might have been sitting at that point because obviously she just came out of something very serious. But besides the point, she was alive, They're looking at her, they're like, "You're alive. You are not dead." Sorry, I am applying so much of this, guys. It is just not as dark as I had thought. Anywho, so she's alive. Her daughters are telling her she's alive. Her maid probably wasn't telling her she was alive because I feel like that probably wasn't allowed. again, irrelevant. So her family basically, to appease her, threw her awake, covered her in a shroud, put her in a coffin, and I'm thinking to myself, honestly, at this point, I'm like, I feel like people probably didn't have a ton of money back then. I don't know. Maybe they were well off. They had a maid, but I'm just thinking they went and bought a coffin and everything. Like, they purchased this stuff to throw her awake. So here's the entertaining part. During her wake, she was fully coherent and was complaining about the wake. She was complaining about the way it was planned. She was complaining about, she actually complained about the color of her shroud. That's what's documented. She actually complained about the color of her shroud during her wake when she believed she was dead. So by the end of it all, she's laying there, wake's over. Her daughters, once the wake is open, and the maid, I'm assuming as well, takes her and puts her in bed. They place her in her bed, and when she comes to, when she wakes up, it is said that, they healed her with the powder of precious stones. They healed her with the powder of precious stones and opium, and her delirium just magically disappeared. Imagine that. So, that was the first reported case of Cotard syndrome. Cotard, why did I switch? Anyway, so that being the first, reported case of that, of Cotard syndrome, we're just gonna say walking corpse because I cannot pick one. The first reported case of walking corpse syndrome was not actually formally introduced to the world. It was not until 1880 when a Parisian psychologist by the names of Jules, here we go, Cotard, actually treated a woman named Mademoiselle X. Mademoiselle X essentially believed that she was damned to hell. She really just believed she didn't need to eat. She didn't need to do anything, that was a normal human function, because she believed that she could not die a natural death. She was damned to hell. She was already dead. And that was that. She essentially, sadly, died of starvation because she wasn't eating. She wasn't eating. She wasn't caring for herself. She just, she believed she was dead. She didn't need to do those things. Fast forward to a more current story about a boy named Graham. There's not a lot of information about Graham on the internet. I do not know how old he is. I do not know really anything except for the fact that his name is Graham and he is a boy. That's what I know. Graham, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but this was the impression that I got from the internet, was that he was probably a teenager and, angsty and full of emotions and hormones, and on top of it was just very depressed, suffered from depression. So Graham actually had multiple suicide attempts. So one day, when Graham is, feeling down, and obviously he's had multiple suicide attempts, he actually decides to try again, this time going all in, and, something that seems like it is a complete guarantee, he actually puts a toaster in the bathtub with him. Now, I don't know about you guys, but any time that, I've ever seen, obviously not that I've seen that in real life, but, like movies and stuff, or, that you've heard of something like that, it pretty much seems like it is going to be, that's going to be it. Toaster in the bathtub, it doesn't seem like there's another way around that. It doesn't seem like you could survive that. Well, guess what? To your surprise and mine, he does. He actually survives that entire ordeal. Graham went to the hospital. He was obviously admitted, I don't know who found him. I don't know necessarily exactly how he got there. I'm sure by ambulance. I'm sure someone found him and, took him. But he essentially believed that during his healing process that he did not survive the ordeal and that he had fried his brain from the toaster, which is crazy because, if you think about it, you're there, you're in the hospital, people are talking to you, you are completely coherent. He was as good as he was gonna be at that given time. I'm sure he wasn't, up and about and moving around, but, he's alive. And during this, he told doctors and others that he believed that he had fried his brain during the toaster incident and was dead. So, from what I understand, again, there's not a lot of data online about Graham. There's just not a whole lot. From what I understand, Graham started hanging out in cemeteries, and he started, just starting to, be around places where dead people were, I guess, cemeteries. Graham actually, an interesting fact, was the first person with the walking corpse syndrome that had a PET scan performed on him. And what was interesting, Graham's results actually showed that of somebody that would either be sleeping or in a coma. So even though he was awake, even though he was completely coherent, while suffering from this syndrome, his results were basically showing, that of somebody that would be completely at rest. You really can't get more at rest than a coma or asleep, he wasn't just, laying there and lounging and they're like, oh, your eyes are closed, you're lounging, your numbers are, or your results are showing this. No, he was showing, results similar to somebody that would just straight be in a coma. So they were speculating that part of this could be because of some medication that he was on. However, they stated that medication could not completely contribute to the extremity of those results. So, puzzling to doctors, puzzling to me, probably puzzling to you, puzzling to Graham. Everybody was puzzled. Now, I do not really know what became of Graham. That information is not out there, and I truly wish it was, because I would certainly be interested in hearing it, specifically because of the fact that, I just want to know. I want to know what happens after, he's got this crazy PET scan, he's, going through all these symptoms. There's really not any more information about him that I could find on the internet. I just felt like I should mention the story of Graham because of the PET scan and because of the similarities between other stories, like that of this girl, which is a little bit more in depth. I can actually, I was actually able to see what became of her to some extent, and, what she was doing, or what she had planned to do in her future, and how she had healed and everything. Her name was Haley Smith. Haley Smith was 17 and she was from Alabama. Haley Smith essentially went to her school nurse one day. I'm not quite sure what she said to the nurse, but she said something, obviously about it. The nurse essentially told her, there's nothing wrong with you. You are fine. go home. And so, what's she gonna do? She's gonna go home. There's nothing that can be done at that point. So it's said that on her way home, she passed by a graveyard and basically just had this urge to, stop at the graveyard and be around other dead people. So that is what she did, because it comforted her. It comforted her to, be around others that she felt were similar, i.e., dead people. From what I understand, she started to feel better initially. And she went to the mall a few days later after the incident where she told her school nurse, hey, I'm not feeling right. And she was supposedly shopping. And while shopping, the feeling apparently came over her. That same feeling, that dissociative, I'm not alive, something's, missing feeling. And I can't really say exactly what she felt, because like I said, there's several cases where people are saying, oh, I felt like I was missing an organ. I felt like I was missing, just part of me. I mean, the symptoms are huge, honestly, like in the amount of differentiation and just, they all have similarities, but there is a huge differentiation amongst them. She threw her clothes on the ground, everything that she was holding, and ran out of the store. She was disassociating herself from her friends. She was starting to eat whatever she wanted because she believed, okay, well, I'm dead, so I can't gain weight, so I might as well just eat what I want. Sounds good to me. If I thought that I was dead and I had this syndrome and I was walking around, I would probably do the same. I would probably just eat what I want and do what I want, go where I want, buy what I want. It gives a new meaning to live like you're dying. If you truly already feel like you're dead, why not? So, Haley eventually mustered up enough courage to, and see, it says that she was disassociating from her friends, but she must have still been in communication with the couple, because it says that she essentially told one of her friends, hey, I'm feeling this way, and the friend apparently convinced her that, hey, you should say something to your dad. Sorry, y'all, I cannot wing on camera while I tell y'all this story. So essentially, she just felt really connected in watching the zombie movies, as though, she was just around other dead people, just like going to the cemetery. There we go. There's the other one. So she was watching zombie movies, but there was another type of movie as well that she felt really connected to while going through this, and that was Disney movies. Yes, complete 180 from the zombie movies. So she was watching all these Disney movies. She watched everything from The Little Mermaid, Bambi, Aladdin. Apparently she watched them all, and they just gave her this really warm, fuzzy feeling that she enjoyed, because unlike feeling like she was dead and watching the zombie movies to bask in that, she felt positive and good, and she enjoyed it. So why would you not do something that you're enjoying and feeling happy about? So it is documented that apparently she said to her boyfriend, how can I be dead if Disney movies make me feel this good? Disney, I promise you, had no clue that they have this much of an impact on people, to the point that they feel dead and Disney movies make them feel alive. All right, they literally make glitter impossible to open. It is said that she and her boyfriend Jeremy, had planned once she got better to get married and actually move and get jobs at Disney World. So I'm sure you, much like me, am just completely intrigued in this entire thing, like how somebody can actually believe that they're dead and be walking around doing normal human, everyday things like, talking and walking and all of that. But it is a real thing. It is incredibly rare. Like I said, there's really only about 200 cases worldwide in this entire amount of time. In addition to that, it's mostly found in people that are over 50. Now, children and teens and young adults can still, obviously develop the syndrome. But like I said, it is most common in those over 50. It's shown in about 80% of people who do have walking corpse syndrome that they have suffered from depression or, several other disorders. I mean, in 80%, there's depression, and that is a huge number. And I can kind of grasp the concept there. I mean, if you are truly depressed, and you're just really feeling out of it, I mean, I can kind of connect the dots there on why some people might have this dissociative episode. It does get a little bit more in depth when people start experiencing things like, that they're missing an organ, or that, they don't exist, or, I mean, I guess I could probably connect the dots with that as well. But just the whole organ thing, or, that you don't have a soul and things like that. Like I said, this syndrome, this illness is actually connected to other disorders as well. Not as prevalently, but still connected. Disorders like schizophrenia, epilepsy, bipolar. It's actually even connected to things like Parkinson's and things like that, which, I guess if you're not in control of your body, maybe then you can start to feel disassociated and things like that. It said that people under 25 specifically most likely usually have bipolar depression, and it is more common in women. It's even said to exist in people who may suffer from a stroke or a brain infection, brain tumors, just a whole slew of things that really are connected to this. And that really just goes back to show they really don't know the cause of it. There are a ton of things that they actually rule out first before saying, hey, you have, Cotard syndrome, because, it's not actually recognized by a lot of medical professionals as a disease. And because of that, they have to rule out all of these other things before saying, hey, you have this. And some of the symptoms actually include anxiety, hallucinations, hypochondria, just the preoccupation with, actually wanting to hurt yourself, or for that matter, death. Now, just for like a second, I actually even want to just like take a minute and think, how scary would that be, honestly? Like, if you truly believed, right, you really think that you are dead, without a shadow of a doubt, you're dead, and there is no way that you are, alive. Like, just how scary would that be to be conscious, be walking around and, seeing people and talking to people, but you think that you're dead, right? I mean, I think that would be terrifying. Now, they treat this syndrome with a mixture of things, which is usually, behavioral therapy or psychotherapy, in conjunction with just, medication, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, things like that. However, they have also used electroshock therapy, guys, which I don't know about you, and I don't know really during this whole thing how much somebody, I guess, is coherent. I mean, the Haley girl, she seemed like she was pretty coherent, right? I mean, she knows what's going on to some extent, and, She obviously is feeling it. She's spoken to a psychotherapist. She obviously got help. But, you know, how scary would that be? You feel dead, and now you're being treated with electroshock therapy. You know, and I don't want to say too much because, again, I don't know a ton about electroshock therapy or any of that. So I don't want to say too much just because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think we can all agree it sounds pretty scary, right? Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why do they need to go to these extreme lengths to, cure somebody? Why can't they just give it more time? Why can't they, keep working with the person? Maybe they'll get better. Yes, I'm putting translucent powder on my face twice. Yes, I did it a minute ago and didn't mean to yet. So, well, unfortunately, guys, people tend to succumb to this illness because since they do believe they are dead, they can, die. Much like Mademoiselle X, the first formal case, people don't believe that they need to do normal human functions like bathe and eat and sleep and drink. So they end up dying. And what's truly, truly sad about all of it is that ultimately these people, caused their own deaths by believing that it was the inevitable. You guys, for the life of me, I cannot pick a lipstick color. I've literally picked up about 5 colors now. We're gonna reach in the bag. We're gonna pick something out. Don't know what it's gonna be. So there you have it, the finished look. I know it's not super bright, super bubbly, but if I'm gonna talk about real life zombies, I'm gonna do the makeup to match. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed watching me do my makeup today, talking to you about real life zombies, aka walking corpse syndrome. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future of me doing my makeup, I know, like I said, a lot of people requested it, but that's not to say you enjoyed it, not to say you shouldn't. So if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future of me doing my makeup and talking to you about creepy things I find on the internet or any other topic that I come across, let me know. Like, share, comment below, and I will see you